Hey everybody, Blake T. Wild here, and welcome back to The Ultimate Era. There's some bad stuff coming to the Ultimate Universe, and I'm not talking about Jeff Loeb and Mark Millar's combined dialogue. I'm talking about Ultimate Galactus. Or as it's spelled, Galactus. But we can't just get there right away. No. Because we have to experience the build-up to one of, if not the earliest major Ultimate Marvel crossovers that took 2 years to complete. And that's why for the next 3 weeks, I'm covering Ultimate Nightmare, Ultimate Secret, not to be confused with Ultimate Secrets, which is a guidebook to the Ultimate Marvel Universe characters. I was very confused when I found that. And finally, Ultimate Extinction. Released in 2004, written by Warren Ellis with art by Trevor Hairston. This is Ultimate Nightmare. The book begins with the Tunguska meteor crash, which in the Ultimate Universe happened in 1904 instead of 1908. The meteor crashes and devastates a huge swath of land, people, animals, whatever is in the area of impact. In 1927, Russian soldiers head through the ground zero area of the crash as the first documented humans to be in the area for 23 years. And they see something that horrifies them. And in the present, a girl watches television in England when the channel goes out completely. And then an image of a solar system appears. Then the deep dark cosmos, followed by an alien city. Then the immediate close-up of an alien eye, followed by real images of aliens looking to the sky. Then the cosmos again. And then something pitch black blocking the stars. Then a massive impact on the surface of the strange alien planet, followed by mass destruction. Then screaming blasts over the airwaves as the girl cries out in pain, and the images shift to the planet itself breaking apart. All across the world, every screen imaginable is replaced by these images and these sounds. The image shifts to mass piles of corpses littered over a ruined landscape. And then a voice emitting from nowhere and everywhere says there is no escape and all the stars will go out and that it is already coming and nothing can be done. And the voice continues that this is a warning of the horror that is coming. Following the broadcast all over the world, people kill themselves. And at the Xavier Institute, Jean Grey awakens in a panic, having dreamt the alien message. She telepathically calls out to Professor X and finds him in the library. He tells her he experienced the same, and that he was just about to use Cerebro to try and find the source of the signal. Jean asks if it was some kind of attack, but Xavier honestly tells her that he does not know. Although he believes it might have been a mutant trying to communicate for help through images of fantasy, and eventually discovers that the recording is coming from Russia, and asks Jean to wake up Logan and Peter. At the Triskelion, Nick Fury sits in his office preparing to head for Russia to figure out what the fuck that thing was. He's recruited Captain America, Black Widow, and since he doesn't have the clearance to get Tony's massive Iron Man flight crew to be brought in, he's got somebody else. Deep within the Amazon rainforest, Sam Wilson answers his sat phone, unloads his wing pack from his bag, and takes flight. That's right, Sam Wilson, the Falcon's first ever appearance in the Ultimate Universe, is here in Ultimate Nightmare. Later on a S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarrier, Sam Wilson is taken to meet Fury and Cap on the bridge. Fury introduces the team to each other and then gives Sam the rundown. Sam notes that you couldn't design a better psychological warfare attack if you tried, which Fury agrees with, and he thinks that it's something the Russians are behind. But Sam doesn't quite think so. He thinks the effect that it had on people wasn't the intended outcome. Sam asks Widow if she thinks the Russian Secret Service could even have the funding for this, and she says no way. Then he asks if America can even do something like this, and Fury tells him that S.H.I.E.L.D's working on it. Sam concludes that this wasn't a psi war, not deliberately at least, and notes that the message, if it's true, presented itself as a kind of message from the dead. And Cap asks what kind of weird tribal mysticism he was getting into down in South America. Later, Fury has delivered some results of the target area, and they show a high-powered scan of beneath the surface of Tunguska, which reveals a massive underground complex more than 2 miles long on each side. The S.H.I.E.L.D. operative also informs Fury and Cap that there are several entrances and they're currently en route. However, another 20 meters beneath the complex are, to their best guess, some kind of nuclear landmines? And it's advised that the operation is conducted with radio silence to ensure that the old radio frequency ID doesn't activate them. Cut to the X-Men. Jean, Colossus, and Wolverine fly to Tunguska in the X-Jet, and Colossus tells them the history of the area as Logan notices something on their radar: the entrance to a bunker complex. Elsewhere, S.H.I.E.L.D's chopper lands and the squad disembark, and they're not that far from the old entrance to the complex. Sam does some hardwiring of this 1980s setup and ponders that since it's unpowered, that means nobody's inside, so where the hell is that message coming from? He gets the blast doors open, and the team heads off into the darkness. Meanwhile, Jean Grey tears the doors apart using her telekinesis, and her team heads inside. The S.H.I.E.L.D. team finds strange carvings on the wall reading 1927 and wonder if that's when construction started. Fury has Widow look into some of the files they've come across as they all wonder what the fuck this place is. She takes a gander and discovers that the most recent document she can find is from 1994, meaning that they locked up and abandoned this place in a hurry. Fury orders them to keep moving and for Natasha to keep reading. Meanwhile, the X-Men travel through the darkness and Wolverine finds some old rags to create a torch. They soon discover bones littering the room. Back with S.H.I.E.L.D., Fury leads them through labyrinthine tunnels until they round a corner and find a figure sitting by himself in the dark, laughing. Natasha speaks to him in Russian, and the man keeps laughing, and then begins to hover before them. And electricity forms atop a horrible fleshy horn protruding from the man's forehead, and Cap shields himself and the others from the unicorn. They unload their bullets on the ultimate unicorn, only to realize he's creating an electrical shield around his body with his powers. So Sam charges him, activates his wings, and uses them to cut the creature's throat. The electricity dissipates, and the team once again unload on him. Sam notes that he needs some light because he has just enough tools to perform an autopsy on this man thing and determine what the fuck happened to him. He determines eventually that the man is at least 40 years old and that the horn, quote-unquote, was bolted into his skull, drilled deep into the forehead with wires connecting directly to the brain. And at some point, skin grew over it. Then over Fury's comms, the nightmare signal plays once again. Meanwhile, the X-Men have found a dead end. Wolverine notes that this was purposefully done rather than just structural collapse, and asks if one of them wants to go ahead and move it, or if they just want to watch as he takes the time to. And before anyone can act, the wreckage lifts itself up and reveals this horrid monster thing. Is this supposed to be Crimson Dynamo? Because he does have an Ultimate counterpart that appears later in the Ultimate Fantastic Four, and there's also the one from Ultimates 2, but maybe this was meant to be like an other Crimson Dynamo, because there are quite a few in the main universe. Or like, is this some kind of early experiment that leads to the Crimson Dynamo that appears in the future? Who knows? It doesn't matter because Colossus charges the beast and smashes its rusty, horrid body through the tunnel, but the Crimson creature gets the upper hand and slams him into the ground, smashing him repeatedly until the tunnel floor gives out and they all plunge into darkness. Back with the other team, Natasha reveals that this is all Cap's fault. She's found out that the Russians have expanded their efforts post-World War II because the American super soldier, and whatever they found in the Tunguska crash, they experimented with it to make super soldiers by implanting pieces of whatever it was that they found onto people. And to make matters even better, all of the prisoners and experiments have been implanted with devices that are triggered and connected to the nukes downstairs to ensure that if any of them get out of range, bombs go off and the whole area is vaporized. And Captain America is visibly disheartened and upset that he caused all of this pain and suffering. Elsewhere, the X-Men have fallen into the former hall of prison cells. Jean says that this mission could have gone better as Wolverine readies his claws, but Peter tells him to stand down and he slowly approaches the experiments, speaking to them in Russian that they're here to help and that they're looking for a psychic that's been calling out. A massive thing saunters toward him and asks Peter why they are truly here since the Soviet Union is dissolved. Peter reveals that he's with an international effort, and the giant pats his shoulder and says that it's good to finally have a good Russian to come and help him. Then it grabs him, calls him a liar, and Colossus breaks out of its grip and Logan leaps into action. Elsewhere, the S.H.I.E.L.D. team is attacked by this massive monster made of arms. They riddle it with bullets and end whatever life it had as it bleeds out in the dark. Fury laments at how much more of this monster bullshit bullshit they're gonna have to deal with before they find the nightmare signal. And back in the cell block, Jean is upset about how bad things have gone when they only wanted to save whoever was down here sending the signal. She sends out a psychic blast and disables everything in the cell block except the X-Men. She tells them that they need to get moving because the signal could be coming from one of these creatures' kids. A mutated child down here with the X-Factor gene in this hell. Logan notes that her ear is bleeding. Jean tells him to fucking help her find that kid who won't stop screaming in her mind. Because every step they take, it gets louder and louder.
Well, gee, I guess we should negotiate. No, wait. Let's just kill him.
No, you could not, American.
That's new. Prison hierarchy. Always gonna be one guy who gets enough food and keeps it together.
Finally, they said to me, we make you great, because one day you meet Captain America. And so, I have waited and guarded, and you have come to me, as I knew you would. I have considered our fight for many decades. I said to them, I have no shield. And they said to me, we cannot replicate. So I made my own.
Yep, say hi to the ultimate Red Guardian. And it's weird that this is kind of the inspiration for the MCU's Red Guardian, right? At least when we first see him in that prison and he's delusional and crazy or whatever. Cap orders the team to stand down and handle breaching the door into the nightmare signal room to finish the mission. And Cap says that he knew many Russians during the war, and they were all good men who sacrificed to defend their people, and after seeing what has happened down here, he feels it would be disrespectful to not give this pitiful man before them a fair fight and death. Meanwhile, Jean rips apart a wall brick by brick as Wolverine suggests she head back with Peter and he'll just keep going on until he finds the signal. She weakly tells him to shut up and becomes angry at him. Hateful. Because no one cares and there is no escape. And then she begins speaking the nightmare signal. Wolverine takes Colossus to the side and has a little one-on-one that whatever they're looking for is really fucking her up. Elsewhere, Sam works on opening the door, leading them to the signal, as Cap battles the Red Guardian, who has spikes made of human bone on his face skin shield. Sam eventually gets the door open, and Cap orders them to head on without him. So the trio go inside a massive lab and find a partially dismantled, massive robot with red skin. Sam is shocked that this is the origin of the transmission, and asks what the hell it is. The android slowly speaks the nightmare signal once again as Black Widow notices the X-Men nearby as they smash down the door. Fury orders them to open fire, and Jean shields her team as Wolverine charges. Fury slams Wolverine's head with the butt of his rifle as just down the corridor, Cap continues his fight against Red Guardian. Guardian believes he's gotten the upper hand, but Cap rips off one of the bones from his shield and plunges it into the man's heart. Elsewhere, Colossus just kind of bear hugs Sam, who questions how exactly his organic metal works, and wonders if his eyes turn into metal. Because if they were, he wouldn't be able to see. And then he drives his thumbs into them. Which is a good question. What does happen to Colossus's eyes? Is it just kind of like an opaque membrane that covers it? Wolverine and Fury reunite and have a tete-a-tete until Wolverine realizes that Cap has now thrown a grenade onto his claws and distracts him by calling him Lucky Jim, his nickname from World War II. As Wolverine lies on the ground dead, regenerating, Widow holds Jean at gunpoint. And Jean has seemingly come to, and is paralyzed with the fact that the thing sending signals isn't even human or a mutant. Sam gets Colossus under control, and Fury moves to make contact with the android, asking if the Russians did this to it. The android confirms. Sam says it can stop broadcasting now since they're here, because the broadcast is hurting people, and the android says it cannot do that, and reveals its name, which in their language translates to the Vision. Shocker, I know. And then it says it's running ahead of it to provide a 100-year warning to the planet to prepare and be ready to defend. But due to a ship failure when Vision arrived in Earth's atmosphere, it crashed and was eventually found by the Russians, then dissected over the decades. Until its self-repairing system finally repaired its broadcast cortex. And when it realized how much time had passed, it went into panic mode and began broadcasting on every frequency it possibly could.
You must prepare now. Prepare. So many voices. I hold the voices of 1,000 dead worlds. There is a very old culture, has observed dozens of terminal events. Their word for it has traveled. In their language it means uncreator, anti-messiah, poison wave, universal endbringer.
What's coming?
Galactus.
Fury and the team come to and discover that they've lost a little bit of time and that the X-Men are now gone. And then Fury radios into S.H.I.E.L.D. about looking for the X-Men and sending down troops to secure the Vision. Several days of work later, the massive Vision is airlifted out of the excavated complex. Sam stuck around with Fury to supervise the operation. Fury orders him to spend every waking hour working with the robot and learning as much as possible. Sam asks how Fury plans to explain the mass broadcasts of doom. Fury tells him it's the same as always. Terrorists! They make for a great scapegoat. Then he tells Sam that no one can know the truth about this. Not until he knows exactly what it is they're dealing with. The end. Hope you enjoyed. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. This was pretty good. I don't really have much to complain about or say. I never really do with a Warren Ellis story. He knows how to tell stories even if he is a terrible person. But originally this was meant to be an event hosted by Mark Millar. But he had some health issues and this was given then to Warren Ellis, who then seemingly reworked it into this 3-volume series that then creates the Ultimate Galactus trilogy. And I love Ultimate Sam Wilson in this. He's smart, highly competent, he's capable, he doesn't have a weird backstory where he's like a drug dealer or something. It's a really great version of the character. Not saying that 616 Sam isn't, it's just that he was mostly sidelined for quite some time until like maybe the 2000s, I feel. But this one is just a badass. It's a great introduction for the character that actually does not get that much time in books for quite a while after this point. The original Vision is a cool idea because the look changes drastically in the future. I like that it's almost like a Deathlock version of Vision, at least the like dissected one we see, and I like how massive it is. That's a neat idea to make it huge. And another thing is that Captain America is the crux of just everything in the Ultimate Universe. He's pretty much the reason most of, if not all aspects of the Ultimate Universe began. And it's kind of a meta commentary for the Marvel Universe and Marvel Comics as a whole, because Kirby and Simon made Captain America prior to World War II, then superhero comics hit the dirt in the 50s. Only to be revitalized in the late 50s and then the early 60s when, in the Marvel side of things, characters like Captain America coming back and, getting back in these books like the Avengers was a big reason to bring him back and, inspire new books and new series and sell well, and people loved him. And the fact that Captain America in the Ultimate Universe is such a crux, it simultaneously makes the Ultimate Universe feel small while also expansive. It's an interesting back and forth, but I do come off liking it more than I don't. As always, let me know what you thought in the comments below, and check out my Patreon, patreon.com/Smokey'sVideos, where you can get early access to videos when available, read all of my comics on there, along with my color commentary and movie commentaries for regular commentaries. Check out my Etsy shop, blaketywild.etsy.com, if you want the physical copies of my comics. Every purchase comes with a free head sketch of any character of your choosing. And of course, check out my podcasts, the Comic Shtick Podcast, where comics are my shtick, and I Need Some Disney, where my wife and I discuss all things Disney. I'll see you next time. Bye.